Coming up today, a famous rock star visits Trinity University.
And votes are counted by the day for the midterm elections to see who controls Congress.
Right now on Newswave. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. Welcome to Newswave. Today is Friday, November 11th. I'm Cinthia Morales.
And I'm Cole Isaacson. Though the COVID-19 pandemic is coming to an end, the harmful effect it's had on American consumers is still looming over the economy. Young Americans have especially struggled to repay ever-growing student loans. When President Biden took office in early 2021, he enacted a continually expanding payment pause, which temporarily halts debt payments. Sadly for students, the final extension for this policy will conclude in December of 2022. Nonetheless, the Biden-Harris administration's student debt relief plan will not stop after the December extension deadline. Their program provides $20,000 for Pell Grant recipients and up to $10,000 for non-Pell Grant recipients. This money will go directly towards student loans amassed before June 13, 2022. They will allow applications for this plan until the end of 2023. According to Lazaro Rodriguez, Trinity's Associate Director of Financial Aid, 46% of all Trinity students are taking out federal loans. However, the timeline for the relief plan's application process could be altered due to legal complications. Recently, the plan has been subject to temporary blockage as Nebraska v. Biden has worked its way through the federal courts. David Crockett, Trinity's chair of the Political Science Department, warns about the consequences this court case, which will affect many students at Trinity and throughout the country.
Trinity students are accustomed to seeing recycle bins and signage all around campus. However, some areas receive significantly less coverage than others. City Vista, the apartment-style residence hall for upperclassmen, do not receive recycling bins in their apartment. These apartments are located just north of Trinity on Hildebrand and connected to campus via the newly constructed Baniski Parkway. While residents of City Vista enjoy gorgeous views and recently renovated facilities, they have limited access to sustainable waste disposal options compared to other Trinity students. According to Eco Allies co-president Audrey Germany, quote, residents put the recyclables in a bag outside their door. Residents sort the recycling by cardboard and other items, such as plastic and paper. Then able building maintenance workers pick up recycling as well as garbage. Recycling is then taken to City Vista totters, which are collected once a week by WM. Germany believes that this disposal system, combined with the lack of equal knowledge on recycling, can do more harm than good.
On Friday, October 28th, Ed O'Brien, guitarist for the band Radiohead, came to campus to participate in a Q&A discussion moderated by Trinity students. Ed O'Brien was brought in specifically to speak to some of the students in the Creative Genius FYE as someone with inspiring success in the music industry over the past several decades. O'Brien gave students some personal tips, such as planning for the week ahead and minimizing distractions by turning off your phone when hitting a creative wall. Finally, O'Brien said, quote, if I would say one thing to all of you, that is the most important thing, I think, about being an artist, is following your gut instinct, because your gut instinct will give you the truth.
The inauguration of our 20th president of Trinity University, Dr. Vanessa Beasley, will occur in February 2023 with a full week of events celebrating her installation. Our executive producer and Trinity student body president, Danny Nguyen, spoke with Trinity's newly appointed president, Vanessa Beasley, on her vision for the future on Trinity. Check it out.
Everyone, and welcome to this very special interview on Newswave, Trinity University's student news broadcast on campus station Tiger TV. My name is Danny Nguyen, class of 2024, and here with me today is the newly appointed 20th president of Trinity University, President Vanessa Beasley. President Beasley, thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me, Danny.
Yes, so, first off, of course, congratulations on your appointment, and of course, welcome to Trinity. Could you please introduce yourself so that the audience could get to know a little bit more about you?
Absolutely. So you know my name, so I don't have to say that again. I am a scholar of political rhetoric and with a particular emphasis on the history of the U.S. presidency and how it's changed as our mass media system has changed in the United States and globally. So that's what I love to study. That's what my books and publications are about. I was very fortunate to have taught and researched at 4 other universities before coming to Trinity, so 2 publics and 2 privates. So I have a pretty good sense of how different types of universities work. And I'm also the partner and spouse of Trey Beasley. He's here with me on campus. We've been married 32 years, and we have 2 children: Adam, who's 24 and lives in Houston, and Charlie, who's 19 and lives in Kentucky.
Sweet. And so, what drew you to Trinity and the presidential position?
So it actually starts with a story about one of my children. My son Adam and I in 2014 I was already in San Antonio for a conference, and he had just finished his sophomore year in high school. We lived in Nashville, and he had always really been interested in Texas universities. And so we decided to start touring, and Trinity was our first stop. He flew out and met me in San Antonio, and we did the Trinity tour. And I've told several people this, but it's still such a happy memory for me. When we were taking the tour, not only was I, charmed by the beauty of the campus and really struck by how distinctive it is, but we also saw, just walking around, some faculty and student interactions. And in particular, it's not the building that CSI is now, but in that area, the building that was before CSI renovation happened, particularly in the science areas, which was what he thought he was going to study then. And I kept saying to him, usually the students that would be working with faculty in labs, as one example, but we could be talking about libraries, archives, writing studio, doesn't matter. Usually at a university, those are going to be PhD students that the faculty are giving most of their attention to. And I've always believed that, especially with bright undergraduates, we should be offering, we in the general sense of higher ed, we should be offering more students more opportunities for that kind of, oh my gosh, this is how a discovery is made, or this is what it takes to write a beautiful poem. So I said to Adam, that seems like Trinity's really good at that. And that's where you want to be, where a faculty member cares about you and your growth, and also is inviting you into the spaces that they care about. So fast forward to all these years later, when I saw in the email in my inbox about this presidency, I opened it and read it, and I thought, wow, the things that Trinity wants to do now still have that faculty-student engagement at their core, but also taking the next step forward with regard to redefining the liberal arts. And I got really excited about it. So thought about it for a few weeks and thought, I'm going to put my name in.
Yeah. So now that you've, how was your first reaction coming back to campus here? I mean, definitely, I'm sure you might or might not have visited campus after you had a tour with your son here. But what was your first reaction coming back to San Antonio and seeing the Trinity campus?
It's so beautiful. I mean, it's one of the jobs that I had in my previous position at Vanderbilt was working with architects and finance people on a variety of different campus construction projects and the design of them to make sure that our students are learning. And so when we talk about that in general in higher ed, we talk about what's the academic program and then what kind of space do we need for it. And so this time coming back to campus with that knowledge that I didn't have in 2014, I thought, wow, this campus is designed for learning. It's beautiful. I've read a lot about O'Neill Ford since I got the position, and the historic value is meaningful to me. The modernist style is very attractive to me. And the last thing I'll say about that, Danny, is I feel like a campus like Trinity's is designed intentionally and because of the time that it was constructed to be welcoming to many traditions. Sometimes when you're at a college campus, you can see, oh, this was just meant to welcome these kinds of people at this kind of time. And some of those spaces are beautiful and historic. And when I walk around our campus, I feel like, oh, this is an architecture that invites people in, both through the light, beautiful spaces we have, and also through the fact that it's a style that works with many different cultural traditions.
And across the nation, we've had a difficult period in our recent history. It's been kind of chaotic for everyone, and I'm sure you experienced, and we've all experienced it both, here at Trinity, but also at your previous institutions. From pandemics to political turmoil to social injustices. How do you think we should move forward into this new era, and how do you think we, as the Trinity community, can begin our new chapter?
Yeah, thank you, Dane. That's a very thoughtful question. So I study political rhetoric. And when people think about political rhetoric, they might have a tendency to think about, as is appropriate, what's coming out of somebody's mouth, the speeches, the messages. And to your point, we've certainly heard a lot of political rhetoric, and we always will in a democracy. That's one of the great freedoms that we have. The way I'm going to answer your question is, the last few years, I've really started challenging myself to think not only about what I say when I'm speaking into the world and to colleagues, but also how I listen. And that's how I would answer your question. It's a really important moment to think about how we're listening to each other. And listening's a skill. You know, it's something that we can do easily, or we think we can do easily for the most part, but actually learning how to listen in what I call a non-reactive way. Because I study argument, I find it really fascinating to sit down and, or read something or hear something someone's saying and thinking, I never would have made that argument. How would somebody have made that argument? What's their evidence? And how do you decide what's good evidence and bad evidence? How do they connect evidence to that argument? Some of those analytical skills that are part of my training and many other scholars' training too. I think the volume has been turned up, if you will, for a while now. And for me, it feels like a great time to say, all right, everybody, the only way through whatever's coming next is to be together, right? And even with people that you don't agree with, that's actually really important to find common cause, even if that's just for the sake of building community. Community is precious. And so we can't get there unless we learn to listen to each other better. It's really important.
And that as a student, I've noticed like our community is pretty unique, our Trinity community, in that even though we come from completely different backgrounds, we do have a sense of bondness in this familial atmosphere, that I think that even though we kind of go through these obstacles and hurdles, we all kind of overcome them together, and we kind of leave our opinions aside, and we have a respect for each other to kind of move on forward.
That's really important, right? And how to do that. I want you to have opinions. I want you to have political views. I want everybody to have a sense of what matters to them. That's really important to be able to articulate it for yourself. It's also true that you and I can work together beautifully on a committee for the good of the university, in your role and my role, even if we don't agree on politics, right? And I think for many parts of society, we've lost sight of that. We don't have to agree on everything to work together to make the community stronger. That's an area where I'd like to see our community grow.
And on a lighter note, as we move beyond, talking about our past, how's your experience here at Trinity so far? Like, what were your first reactions, first thoughts?
Everybody has been very welcoming. I will say I took a few weeks when I first got here at the end of July to basically have some behind the scenes time, if you call it that, because there are things as a candidate for positions such as the presidency that you can't see, that you shouldn't see, right? Anything from financial information to legal information. And so once you have the title, you need to see those things and you need to understand how systems work. So I have a wonderful set of colleagues, all the vice presidents and our general counsel. And being able to be with them and think about, tell me what's in your portfolio. I really want to, again, very respectfully understand how things work here. And they did a great job with that. And then after that, we started to have some meetings, including with SGA, and start to, again, do what I'm talking about, listen to everyone. So within all of that context, everybody's been so warm. Everybody's been so enthusiastic and welcoming. And I'd say everybody's also shown a tremendous amount of energy in whatever the next level is. Like I said, I have a pretty clear vision, but I want to hear from other people too. Everybody's shown just an eagerness to like, okay, let's do this. So that's great.
So let's take let's look into the future.
Okay.
Let's see, where do you want to see Trinity, let's say 20 years from now? Where are you looking forward to?
So this is not just my belief, I know this. Trinity is in a very unique position to shine as a national liberal arts university. I say national because I think I've had the experience with my friends, people saying, oh yeah, Trinity, this is not necessarily related to my presidency, but over 20, 25 years, people saying Trinity is great. It's a little gem, or like it's a little, it's this hidden jewel. And I'm like, what's hidden about it? Right? Like it's right, it's here, and it's shining so brightly, to use the jewel metaphor. So I think in 20 years, I would predict with great confidence that a couple of things will have happened. One is more people around the nation and around the world will understand what Trinity University stands for, and most importantly, the education that it offers and the value of that education. I'm starting to work with some colleagues to think about, like, are we expressing that the right way? Are we talking about that the right way? So in 20 years from now, I love to communicate. That's my field. So 20 years from now, I know we'll have that down, and more people will know about Trinity. And then I would say the second part of what I can predict accurately is now we're in a time of not just other kinds of innovation with regard to tech, but also educational innovation, right? So there's a lot of people who would say post-COVID, online education's not going away. And I'm really excited about the differentiation you're going to see across educational and institutional types, because there's no one size fits all in higher ed. Trinity is a wonderful place for a particular kind of student. Which is one of the reasons I was so happy my son and I toured here. But it doesn't have to be for everybody. So I'd say that we are increasingly selecting the kinds of students who are going to thrive here and take the Trinity education, and then perhaps stay in San Antonio, perhaps go wherever they're going to go next, and spread the value of that liberal arts education to the next phase in their life too.
I mean, coming from San Antonio, I mean, Trinity's always been in my backyard. And so the fact that I get to be here, getting to do these many different opportunities that I have been able to, acquire and, thrive in here at Trinity, it's super an exciting experience. And I definitely really do want to see what it looks like 20 years from now. Maybe I'll still be here.
I think here's the deal, Danny. In 20 years, you can call me and we'll figure this out together. But I bet you what you'll find by then is that the degree that you'll have then, that people already respect now, will be even more respected and valued then.
And I really do hope so too.
Yeah.
But yeah. And so, the last question of today's interview, and this is, you can look towards one of our mini cameras here for our interview. What do you want to say to the Trinity community?
Okay, I'm going to look at this camera and say, first of all, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for the warm welcome that I've received from students, faculty, and staff. Thank you for being the special community that drew me here in the first place. And I've said this to several people already, so this might be repetitive to some of you, but I'm here because you're here. My job as president is to lead us into the next chapter in Trinity's history. It does feel like there's palpable energy, that we're at what we're talking about as an inflection point, and I think that's right. And it's also right that it just won't be one person who gets us there. It will be our joining together as one community to make the Trinity experience shine even brighter, and to make the value of your education even more obvious in the future. So please join me in that effort, and I want to hear from you about what made Trinity special for you.
Wow. So that is all the time that we have for today. Thank you to President Vanessa Beasley for being here, to the Trinity community and beyond. Stay safe and stay healthy. This is Danny Nguyen, Newswave 14 reporting.
Still coming up, a book fair is opening up in San Antonio.
And flu hospitalizations hit a decade high in an early surge.
After the break.
This is our home. This is our studio, filled with empty seats and cameras waiting to press record again. With remote classes and the COVID-19 pandemic, it's hard not to feel like we've lost a community on campus. When we're not on campus, it's hard to feel home. But home isn't just a place, it's a feeling. And here at Tiger TV, we're bringing that feeling to you. Because while our studio is waiting for us, we haven't stopped bringing you the shows you need. Get involved with some of our diverse programming like Newswave, Studio 21, and The Not So Late Show. Tune in to our YouTube and Vimeo channels if you miss some of the quality campus television programming we make. Just because we're remote, that doesn't mean we're not still together. Because here, home is more than just a place. Home is Tiger TV.
Welcome back to Newswave. This past weekend, San Antonians gathered at the One Walk event held at Morgan's Wonderland. The Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation is a nonprofit organization who hosted the One Walk in order to raise awareness and collect donations for research on type 1 diabetes. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention states, quote, "There is a 30% increase in type 1 diabetes diagnosis in the U.S., and those cases are being seen more among the youth. The foundation is focused on investing in life-changing technology that monitors glucose and makes diabetes treatment more manageable for people living with diabetes. The Dexcom that's coming out is going to be smaller, easier to manage, and requires a shorter startup time. With the help of JDRF, individuals like Juliana Zamora says, we get to finally have a little more faith and see the companionship around us. It really shows that we are not alone, and that's what a lot of people feel most of the time."
Tomorrow, Saturday, November 12th, the second annual Southside Book Fair is making its return to San Antonio. The free event will take place at Brickster's Backyard Ice House from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and will feature 20 local Texan authors, including Gloria Amescua, Alba P. Dobbs, Nicholas Solis, and Ann Winter. According to Kens5.com, the authors will participate in a meet and greet as well as book signing sessions. The Witt Museum and Twig Bookshop will also be in attendance, helping to promote literacy in San Antonio. The fair is kid and pet friendly, so if you're looking for something to do with the family this weekend, be sure to check it out. For the first time in franchise history, San Antonio FC has advanced to the United Soccer League Championship. San Antonio will host the former champs, Louisville City FC, in the USL Championship final this Sunday at Toyota Center. This advancement comes after San Antonio's 2-0 victory over the Colorado Springs FC in the Western Conference Final this past Sunday. This shutout win solidifies a perfect record against Colorado Springs this season, as they didn't lose a single game to the Switchbacks and didn't concede a single goal either. This trend of dominance is nothing new to San Antonio, who has yet to lose a game to Colorado in the Alamo City and over the franchise's 6-year history. Despite its youth, San Antonio FC has risen to dominate the USL, securing their first regular season title as well as their first Western Conference final. The football club's success has produced a well-timed burst of city pride as our San Antonio Spurs are currently undergoing a rebuild. The championship match will take place this Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, so be sure to tune in to ESPN and watch as San Antonio attempts to dethrone the former champions and bring home our first championship title in franchise history.
A San Antonian boy whose teddy bear was stolen during a camping trip was showered with kindness by his community. When the parents of 5-year-old Jens divorced, his mother, Maria Jose Escobar, a life and health coach, gave him a teddy bear to comfort him through the separation. Jens took his beloved teddy bear with him on his family trips and to camping trips with his dad. Sadly, the boy was heartbroken when the bear was stolen from his campsite. In response, Jens asked to post a video to YouTube pleading for the bear's return. His mother said, quote, "When I went to go film him, it was heartbreaking because he could not get the words out," end quote. When she posted the video to Instagram and TikTok and was astonished by the wave of kind responses that came in replace to the stolen bear. Escobar realized that the bears could be donated to other children in need. Jens and his mom gave all but one of the 25 bears they received to the Children's Bereavement Center of South Texas. In the process of an unfortunate teddy bear kidnapping, Jens and his family were comforted by the kindness of strangers and were able to reciprocate that kindness back into their community.
Up ahead, results from the 2022 midterm elections.
And then your sport news from Kayla.
We'll be right back.
When you throw away money on wasted electricity, you're throwing away everything you could have bought with it. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at energysavers.gov. Traditional light bulbs actually generate 9 times more heat than light. Switch to Energy Star light bulbs, and you'll realize just how much cash you were really burning through. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at energysavers.gov.
Last week, the Center for Disease Control announced that flu hospitalizations have reached their highest levels in over a decade. The report released last Friday shows that hospitalizations for October and November are concerningly above average, which signals the potential for an early peak. Typically, winter viruses such as the flu and cold spike in December or January. This early spike could signal an atypical growth of flu cases seen in recent years. Although concern about the effect of the flu season have many, according to domestic influenza surveillance team Lynette Bramar, the CDC, quote, has not seen anything that would lead us to believe there is more severe. Though the strain of flu may be nothing out of the ordinary, its peculiar growth in cases also spiked the amount of deaths experienced so far this season. The wearing of protective masks reduced some of the natural immunity that individuals built up in response to respiratory diseases like the flu and RSV. Sadly, these effects are detrimental to children who have the weakest immune systems. As flu season picks up, remember to take sanitary precautions, especially for those living on campus in residence halls. This past Tuesday was election night 2022, where millions of Americans came out to vote in the midterm elections. What was predicted by many pollsters and analysts to be a, quote, red wave, where the Republican Party would dominate the midterm elections, in reality failed to materialize, as many Democratic incumbents held through and won their re-election, while even gaining some seats across the board in the House, Senate, and gubernatorial elections. There were some notable moments from the midterm elections. In the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Democratic Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman had flipped one of two Pennsylvania Senate seats, defeating Republican doctor and TV personality Dr. Oz. In the House, 25-year-old Maxwell Frost became the first Generation Z member of Congress after winning an election in the state of Florida. On the Republican side, notable wins were also aplenty. Author J.D. Vance defeated the Democratic incumbent Tim Ryan. Florida, Texas, and New Hampshire governors Ron DeSantis, Greg Abbott, and Chris Sununu were reelected by significant margins. The election, however, is still not over yet, with votes being counted for razor-thin margins, and the Georgia senatorial races headed to runoff election. The control of Congress is still to be determined, and we here at Newswave will continue to update you on whatever happens in the coming weeks.
Still ahead, your update on sports from Caleb.
We'll be back in 60 seconds.
All right, I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay, so who's gonna do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Welcome back, and now we'll turn it over to Caleb for sports. Caleb?
Thank you, Cynthia. Hello, everyone. It is wonderful to be back for y'all today wonderful to be back in front of y'all screens today for sports, so let's get started. Last week, the Trinity Tiger football team clinched yet another Southern Athletic Association Conference championship, defeating Millsaps 57-3 on the road in Jackson, Mississippi. The Tigers entered the matchup undefeated with an 8-0 record going into the final road game of the year and will take on Sewanee here at Trinity tomorrow at noon. The team has now clinched a berth in the NCAA Division III playoffs, and the selection show will take place on Sunday, November 13th. Volleyball has entered the NCAA regional playoffs after an upset loss in the SCAC championship. The team enters their 9th consecutive playoff appearance and the 27th in school history, facing Puget Sound in the first round. Their first round game was Thursday, with the tournament continuing Saturday and today. Women's basketball is getting ready to tip off their season with two out-of-state games to start the season. Last year, the Tigers went to the NCAA's Elite Eight, capping off an impressive 28-3 campaign that saw school records for consecutive wins during a season and points scored in a game, along with many others. The team is playing in Birmingham, Alabama for the first two games of the season on Friday and Sunday, with their first home game of the season coming on Sunday, November 20th. On to the NFL now, and a bye week for the majority of teams means that there isn't really any game results to report on. However, breaking news came out of the nation's capital yesterday. Carl Racine The Attorney General of the District of Columbia announced yesterday that he would be suing the Washington Commanders owner Dan Snyder and the NFL over collusion charges. These charges come in light of numerous investigations into a toxic workplace environment that included multiple sexual harassment reports. Meanwhile, in San Antonio, after a 5-2 start, the Spurs have stumbled a bit as of late, dropping to 5-7 after Wednesday's loss to the Grizzlies. The team has been on a bit of a tailslide for the better part of the last couple of years, and this is no different as San Antonio experiences yet another rebuilding season. Despite losses to Memphis, Denver, and LA, which have put the team on a 5-game skid, they will play tonight and hope to end that streak against Milwaukee. This week, Formula One travels to Sao Paulo for the 2022 Brazilian Grand Prix, and all eyes will be not just on the track, but the weather. Heavy rain is anticipated for much of the weekend, meaning that strategy will be unpredictable heading into a race that is already considered one of the best on the calendar. In addition, today's qualifying session resulted in one of the biggest upsets ever as Danish driver Kevin Magnussen got the first pole position of his career in a mixed condition qualifying session. However, the biggest news out of the world of motorsports was an insane move in a NASCAR race 2 weeks ago in Martinsville. Needing 2 spots to advance to the championship 4, Ross Chastain had just 1 corner to go before he decided not to take the corner. With average speeds at the corners on the paperclip, averaging around 60 miles per hour, Chastain kept his foot to the floor and rode the wall at over 100 miles per hour, passing the 2 cars that he needed in the final corner to make the transfer. Last week's championship race in Phoenix saw Joey Logano take the 2nd championship of his career, and it marked the end of the first season of NASCAR's new next-gen package. That's all that I have for this week, but I hope that y'all have a safe and wonderful weekend, so make sure to take care.
And that's all the time we have for this week. This is our last show before the Thanksgiving break.
From everyone at Newswave, we hope you have a safe and fun Thanksgiving break. I'm Cole Isaacson.
And I'm Cinthia Morales. We'll see you next time.